The psychology of gaslighting. How narcissists twist your reality. Have you ever second-guessed your memory? Started to feel like you were too sensitive? Or apologized for things you're not even sure you did wrong? If so, you may have been gaslit. Gaslighting is one of the most chilling forms of emotional abuse. It doesn't leave bruises. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It confuses. And eventually, it erodes your sense of reality. Today, we're going deep into the psychology of gaslighting, what it is, how it works, who does it, and most importantly, how you can protect yourself and reclaim your truth. Let's begin. What is gaslighting, really? Gaslighting isn't just lying. It's a systematic distortion of reality that makes the victim question their perception, memory, and even sanity. The term comes from a 1938 play, later a film, called Gaslight, where a husband manipulates his wife into thinking she's going insane by dimming the gaslights and then denying it ever happened. Today, gaslighting can look like, "That never happened. You're just being dramatic. Everyone thinks you're overreacting." The abuser slowly chips away at your confidence, until you rely on them to define reality for you. That's the danger. Because once someone else defines what's real for you, they control you. Why do people gaslight? Let's be clear, not everyone who disagrees with you is gaslighting you. Gaslighting is intentional manipulation, often used to control a partner, avoid accountability, shift blame, maintain power. Many gaslighters fall under the umbrella of narcissistic personality traits. They see relationships not as mutual connections, but as tools to get admiration, control, or validation. Gaslighting becomes a survival strategy for the narcissist. If they admit fault, their entire sense of self might collapse. So instead, they rewrite reality. But here's what's key. Some people don't gaslight out of grand plans, but out of deep insecurity. They grew up in chaos. They were never taught emotional accountability. So they lie, shift blame, and minimize to avoid shame. Still, intention doesn't erase impact. Gaslighting is always toxic. How gaslighting unfolds in relationships. Gaslighting usually starts subtly. You're in a conversation. You bring up something they said that hurt you. They reply, "I never said that. You're remembering it wrong. Stop being so sensitive." At first, you defend yourself. You know what you heard. But over time, you begin to doubt. Maybe you are too emotional. Maybe they're right. That's how it starts. You go from trusting yourself to questioning everything. Victims of gaslighting often describe it as feeling crazy, constantly apologizing, walking on eggshells, feeling alone, even when in a relationship, needing the abuser's approval to feel sane again. This is not accidental. Gaslighting is meant to isolate you, so your only anchor becomes the person gaslighting you. And that's when emotional dependency sets in. What does gaslighting at work look like? Gaslighting at work often comes from people in positions of power: managers, team leads, HR reps, or even dominant coworkers. Here are some common workplace gaslighting behaviors. Multiply denial of previous agreements. "I never said you were responsible for that project. We agreed you'd have it ready by today," even though the conversation or email clearly indicated otherwise. Multiply blaming without evidence. "You're the reason this client backed out. I've heard complaints about your tone." But no specifics, no proof, no feedback trail. Multiply withholding or distorting information. They conveniently leave you out of emails, meetings, or changes, then blame you for being uninformed. Multiply rewriting performance narratives. You're told you're not meeting expectations, despite positive reviews or success metrics, which are suddenly reinterpreted. Multiply discrediting behind your back. They subtly, or overtly, suggest to others that you're emotional, unstable, or not a team player, undermining your credibility before you even speak. Multiply making you doubt your memory. "We never talked about that. You must have misunderstood. You're overthinking things again." The result? You start questioning yourself, your memory, your professionalism, your sanity. Who gaslights at work, and why? Anyone can gaslight, but in workplaces, power and insecurity are often the driving forces. Small diamond, the insecure manager, they fear being exposed as incompetent, so they shift blame onto subordinates. When things go wrong, they need a scapegoat. Small diamond, the narcissistic leader, these individuals need to control the narrative and protect their ego at all costs. They'll gaslight you rather than admit fault. Small diamond, the competitive colleague, they see you as a threat to their advancement. Gaslighting becomes a tool to sabotage your performance or reputation without being direct. Small diamond, the toxic culture enabler, sometimes HR or leadership gaslights an entire team, especially when whistleblowers call out unethical practices. Instead of accountability, they respond with, "That's not how we do things here. You're taking it too personally. This is just part of the job." Why do they do it? Because gaslighting disarms resistance. If they can make you feel confused, guilty, or unstable, you're less likely to challenge them. How organizations enable or prevent gaslighting. Workplace gaslighting doesn't thrive in a vacuum. It thrives in cultures that reward silence, ambiguity, and hierarchy over honesty. Organizations can either feed the gaslighting or disrupt it. Here's what feeds it: lack of transparency, no whistleblower protections, unchecked power structures, performance review processes that lack evidence, a culture of fear or perfectionism. Here's what prevents it: clear communication norms, regular 360-degree feedback, psychological safety in teams, clear escalation channels for reporting abuse, managers trained in trauma-informed leadership. Companies that truly care about their people don't just post mental health awareness hashtags. They foster environments where truth is safe, even when it's uncomfortable. The psychological effects of gaslighting. Gaslighting isn't just a bad relationship, it's a trauma. It impacts the brain, the nervous system, and your core identity. Common long-term effects include CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress, dissociation, feeling detached from yourself, anxiety and depression, loss of confidence and identity, hypervigilance, constantly trying to predict moods or avoid conflict. You start scanning for signs that you're wrong. You double-check texts, reread conversations. You ask friends, "Was I overreacting?" And most heartbreakingly, you stop trusting your intuition. Even when your gut screams, "This isn't right," your brain replies, "But what if I'm just being dramatic?" Gaslighting fractures your relationship with yourself. That's why healing is not just about leaving the gaslighter, it's about rebuilding your reality. How to heal and reclaim your reality. So how do you heal from gaslighting? Brain step 1. Validate your experience. You are not crazy. What you felt was real. You're allowed to trust your own perception again. Open book. Step 2. Document things. Keep a journal. Record events. This helps rebuild your memory and combats the "maybe I'm wrong" loop. Woman standing. Step 3. Get grounded in your body. Trauma lives in the nervous system. Use grounding techniques. Deep breathing, mindful walks, touching your heart, or naming 5 things you see. Seedling. Step 4. Therapy or support groups. Talking with a trauma-informed therapist can rewire the damage. Gaslighting makes you feel alone, but healing happens in safe relationships. Speaking head. Step 5. Reclaim your voice. Say it out loud. I know what I felt. I am not overreacting. My story matters. These aren't just words. They're steps toward truth. If you've been gaslit, you're not weak. You're not broken. You're a survivor. And your ability to sense something was wrong? That was your power trying to speak. Gaslighting loses power when we name it. When we talk about it. When we believe ourselves again. So here's your reminder. You are allowed to trust your gut. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to walk away from confusion and into clarity. Your truth is not up for debate. It is yours. And that's where your freedom begins.